I remember when a loaf of bread cost less than 30 cents and gas was under $1. Back then, a little went a long way. But these days, it feels like every bill gets bigger, even as life slows down. If you are living on Social Security or a fixed income like I am, spending wisely becomes more important than ever. Over the years, I have learned some smart ways to save money without giving up the things that bring me joy. These are not tricks or gimmicks, just honest lessons from real life. In this video, I want to share 10 practical ways I have found to spend less and live more fully. 1. Buy less but better. When I was younger, I used to chase sales. If something was marked down, I would grab it, even if I did not really need it. There was a time when my closet was full of cheap shirts that looked worn out after 2 washes. And my kitchen cabinets were stacked with things I never used. Back then, it felt like getting more for less. But over time, I realized that buying more often meant wasting more. It took me a while to understand that value does not come from the number of items you own, but from how long they last and how often you use them. Now, at 70 years old, I look at things differently. I have learned to choose quality over quantity. For example, I have one good pair of walking shoes. They were not the cheapest on the shelf, but they have lasted me over 3 years and they still feel comfortable every time I wear them. I used to buy new sneakers every season. They would wear out quickly, hurt my feet, and end up in the trash. Looking back, I probably spent more money replacing cheap shoes than I did on the one sturdy pair I wear now. This lesson applies to everything in my life: clothes, tools, cookware, even furniture. I used to have 3 frying pans. None of them worked well. Now I have one good pan, and it cooks my eggs just right every morning. I do not miss the clutter, and I do not miss the waste. The same goes for food. I stopped buying in bulk unless I know I can finish it. I do not stock up just because it is on sale. At my age, things need to serve a purpose, not just take up space. Buying less but better has not only saved me money, it has brought me peace of mind. I do not feel overwhelmed by too many choices or guilty about things going unused. Everything I buy now is intentional. It has a reason to be in my home. And the truth is, this way of living feels lighter. It feels simpler. There is joy in knowing what you have is enough, and that it serves you well. So if you are like me and trying to make your dollars go further, take a second look at what you are buying. Ask yourself, do I really need it? Will it last? Does it bring me comfort or make my life easier? If the answer is no, you can walk away with no regrets. Remember, the goal is not to live with less joy. It is to live with fewer distractions and more intention. 2. Audit your monthly bills like a pro. One quiet Sunday afternoon, my son David came over to help me set up a new printer. After we got it working, he sat down with his coffee and asked, "Dad, do you know what you are paying for every month?" I said, "Well, the usual stuff: phone, electric, cable." He gave me a little smile and said, "Let's check, just in case." I pulled up my bank statements, and within 15 minutes, we had found 4 different charges I had either forgotten about or never even noticed. I was still paying for a magazine subscription that I had not read in over 2 years. There was also a small monthly fee for a music service I did not remember signing up for. And then there was a gym membership I had stopped using since before the pandemic, but the automatic payments were still going through. All in all, it added up to over $100 a month. That may not sound like much to some, but to me, that is groceries for a week, or a full tank of gas and a dinner with my granddaughter. After that day, I made it a habit to audit my monthly bills every 3 to 6 months. I sit down with a cup of tea and go through every transaction line by line. It does not take long, and it gives me peace of mind knowing where my money is going. I keep a little notebook where I write down each bill: electric, water, phone, internet, insurance, subscriptions, and I check if the amount has gone up or if I still need the service. One of the smartest things I did was call each provider and ask, Do you have a senior plan? You would be surprised how often the answer is yes, but they do not advertise it. They wait for you to ask. I switched my phone plan to a prepaid option and cut my bill in half. I also found out that my electric company offers a senior discount for people on fixed incomes. It only saved me $20 a month, but over a year, that adds up to $240. The truth is, no one else is going to manage your money for you. And in retirement, every dollar saved is a dollar that can go towards something meaningful, like a birthday gift for a grandchild, a short weekend trip, or even just peace of mind. There is no shame in being careful. It is not about being cheap. It is about being wise. We spent decades working hard. Now it is time to let our money work smart. So, if you have not looked at your bills lately, set aside some time this week. Print out your statements or look at them online with a trusted family member. Ask questions. Cancel what you do not need. Negotiate where you can. You might be surprised how much you can save just by paying attention. 3. Use those senior discounts. You earned them. For the longest time, I did not like using the word senior. It made me feel like I was admitting I had gotten old. I would avoid asking for discounts even if I knew they existed. I did not want to seem cheap or needy. But one day, I was at the pharmacy picking up a prescription, and the clerk behind the counter asked, "Are you over 65? I said yes, and she smiled and said, "Great, you qualify for the senior discount. That will save you 10%. Just like that, I saved almost $8. That moment changed the way I looked at things. I realized that senior discounts are not handouts. They are a thank you. A thank you for the years of hard work, for raising families, paying taxes, and building communities. We earned them. There is no shame in accepting what you have already given so much for. Now I ask everywhere I go. The diner down the street knocks $1 off my breakfast. The movie theater gives me a reduced rate on matinees. Even my local grocery store has special days when seniors get 5% off their total. These small savings add up. Over the course of a month, I might save $30 or $40. Over a year, that is hundreds. And I get to enjoy the same food, the same services, the same experiences, just at a smarter price. I even found that some utility companies and car insurance providers offer senior pricing if you ask. My neighbor Margaret told me she saved over $200 a year on her electric bill just by enrolling in her provider's low-income senior plan. She had no idea it existed until someone at her church mentioned it. So do not be afraid to ask. When you go out to eat, when you travel, when you pay your bills, ask if there is a senior rate or discount available. Many places will not tell you unless you speak up. And always carry your ID, just in case they need proof of age. It takes only a few seconds, but it can save you real money. You spent a lifetime contributing to this society. These discounts are not charity. They are a recognition of your value, so use them proudly. You are not just saving money, you are standing in the wisdom of your years. Cook at home with joy. After my wife passed, I stopped cooking for a while. The kitchen felt too quiet, too empty. Most nights, I would just make a sandwich, heat up a can of soup, or eat cereal straight from the box. It was easier, faster, and I told myself it did not really matter. But over time, I started feeling off, not just physically, but emotionally too. Something was missing. I was saving time, but I was losing a part of myself. Then one afternoon, my granddaughter came to visit. She was about 7 years old at the time and said, "Grandpa, can we bake cookies together like you used to with Grandma?" I had not baked in years, but I said yes. We made a mess. There was flour everywhere, sugar on the floor, and chocolate chips in places I am still finding. But for the first time in a long time, the kitchen felt alive again. That moment reminded me of something important. Food is not just fuel. Cooking is a way of caring for yourself. It is a quiet act of self-respect, and surprisingly, it can save you a lot of money too. Once I started cooking at home again, my grocery bill went down, and I felt better eating fresh, simple meals I made myself. I am not talking about gourmet meals. Most nights I make something easy. Scrambled eggs with spinach, a pot of vegetable soup, roasted chicken and sweet potatoes. I cook a little extra and freeze the rest for later. It helps reduce waste, and it makes those lazy days easier when I do not feel like cooking from scratch. Eating out used to be my go-to solution, especially when I felt lonely, but it adds up quickly. Even a cheap diner breakfast with tip and tax is $10 to $15. Multiply that by a few times a week, and you are spending hundreds every month just to avoid the stove. By cooking at home, I took back control, not just of my wallet, but of my health and my daily rhythm. There is also something peaceful about the process. Chopping vegetables while listening to the radio, letting soup simmer while the sun sets, setting a simple table with a cloth napkin, even if it is just for me. Meals do not need to be fancy to be meaningful. They just need to be yours. So if you have been relying on takeout or frozen meals, I encourage you to try cooking 1 or 2 simple things a week. Start small. Find recipes you actually enjoy making. You might be surprised at how comforting it is to feed yourself with care. And who knows, maybe one day someone special will pull up a chair and say, "Can we cook together again?" 5. Shop with a purpose. I remember a time when walking through a store was relaxing. I would wander down the aisles, pick up whatever caught my eye, and throw it in the cart without much thought. Back then, it felt harmless. But these days, every dollar matters more. Prices are higher, my income is fixed, and I have learned that shopping without intention often leads to regret. One day I walked into a store just to look around and walked out with 2 new shirts, a scented candle, and a box of cookies I did not need. It was almost $60. I sat in my car afterward and thought, why did I buy all that? The truth is, when you shop without a plan, stores know exactly how to tempt you. They use music, lighting, and displays to make things feel urgent or irresistible, and at this age, I cannot afford to fall for that every time. Now, before I go shopping, I make a list. Nothing fancy, just a small notepad where I write what I need for the week. Eggs, bananas, dish soap, coffee. If it is not on the list, I give myself permission to walk past it. That simple habit has saved me more money than I can count. It also saves time. I get in, get what I need, and get out without second-guessing myself in every aisle. Shopping with purpose is not about being strict. It is about being aware. When I do allow myself a treat, maybe a small pie from the bakery or a good book on sale, I enjoy it more because I know it is not a careless decision. It is something I chose to give myself, not something I was tricked into buying. I also try to shop when I am not tired or hungry. I have noticed that when I am low on energy, I am more likely to make impulsive choices. A hungry shopper is a spender. A bored shopper is a spender. I have learned to respect my state of mind before I walk into a store. One last thing that helps is shopping alone. I love my grandkids, but when they tag along, I end up buying things I never intended to. Toys, snacks, little extras. It is worth it now and then, but for my regular shopping, I do better by myself with a clear head. Shopping does not have to be stressful or expensive. It can be simple, thoughtful, and even satisfying. Just remember why you are there. Stick to your list, stay grounded, and when you do treat yourself, make sure it is something that truly brings you joy, not just a moment of distraction. 6. Borrow, do not buy. Growing up, borrowing was normal. If you needed a ladder, you asked your neighbor. If you ran out of sugar, you knocked on a friend's door. People shared things because that is what community meant. Somewhere along the way, we started thinking we had to own everything ourselves. But now, more than ever, I believe in going back to those old ways, and not just for the money it saves, but for the connections it builds. A few months ago, I needed a power drill to fix a loose door hinge. I almost bought one online, but something stopped me. I called my friend Jim, who lives a few blocks away, and asked if he had one I could borrow. Not only did he have one, he insisted on coming over and helping me fix the door. We ended up spending the afternoon together, talking more than drilling. It reminded me that borrowing is not just practical, it is relational. There are also many community resources now that support this idea. My local library does not just lend out books, they also lend puzzles, tools, board games, even laptops for short-term use. I signed up for a tool lending program at the community center. It is free, easy to use, and better than spending $50 or $100 on something I will only use once. I also started a small borrowing circle with my neighbors. A few of us share gardening tools, cooking appliances, and even ladders. When someone needs something, we just send a quick message and see who has it. It saves us all money and keeps our homes from filling up with stuff we barely use. Borrowing can feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you are used to being self-sufficient. But there is no shame in it. In fact, I think there is strength in asking. It takes trust, humility, and the courage to stay connected. And most people are glad to help, especially if they know you would do the same for them. So the next time you are about to buy something you might only use once or twice, pause and ask yourself, do I really need to own this? Is there someone I can borrow it from? Is there a place in my community that might have it? You might be surprised at how many doors open when you are willing to ask. Saving money is not always about cutting things out. Sometimes it is about reaching out to your neighbors, your community, and the old ways that still work. Borrow with gratitude, return with care, and enjoy the quiet joy of knowing you have exactly what you need without buying more than you can carry. 7. Downsize with dignity. Letting go of the house I lived in for over 40 years was one of the hardest decisions I ever made. It was the house where my children took their first steps, where we hosted birthdays, and where the walls held more laughter and memories than I could count. After my kids moved out and started families of their own, it was just me in a space that used to feel full. The silence became louder, the rooms seemed colder, and the maintenance never seemed to end. I tried to keep up at first, mowing the lawn, fixing little things, cleaning rooms I no longer used, but slowly it wore me down. Climbing the stairs got harder. The energy bills kept rising. I realized I was spending more money, more effort, and more time maintaining a house that no longer fit my life. I was holding on out of habit, not happiness. So I made the decision to downsize. I moved into a smaller one-level condo not too far from my old neighborhood. At first, it felt strange. Fewer rooms, less storage, no backyard. But within a few months, I began to feel lighter. There was less to clean, fewer things to worry about, and my utility bills were cut in half. I even had extra money left over each month. Money I could spend on things that actually added value to my life, like visits with my grandkids or a weekend getaway to the mountains. Downsizing does not mean giving up. It means adjusting to the season of life you're in. It is about choosing comfort, ease, and peace of mind over holding on to things that no longer serve you. I kept the photos, the letters, the meaningful items, but I let go of the things I no longer needed. And with them, I let go of a weight I did not realize I had been carrying. What surprised me most was how freeing it felt. I found joy in having less. My new space is cozy, quiet, and just enough. I have a favorite chair by the window, a kitchen that suits my needs, and neighbors who are kind and close by. I do not miss the big house. I miss the memories, yes, but not the burden. So if you are living in a space that feels too big, too costly, or too much to manage, take a step back. Ask yourself if it still fits the life you have now, not the life you used to have. Downsizing does not take away your past. It simply makes more room for the present. Revisit your insurance plans. For years, I paid for insurance plans that I did not fully understand. I had life insurance, health insurance, car insurance, and a few others I had forgotten about. I kept them going out of habit and fear. Fear of needing them. Fear of canceling the wrong one. Fear of change. But what I did not realize is that, over time, those plans had changed, and so had my needs. One day, my son David sat down with me and said, "Dad, when was the last time you reviewed your insurance?" I paused and said, "I don't think I ever really have." That moment started a process that ended up saving me hundreds of dollars each year. We started with my car insurance. I was driving less, mostly short trips around town, yet I was still paying the same rate I had when I was commuting to work every day. We called the company and asked about a low mileage discount. They offered one right away, plus a better rate for safe driving. I also removed a few coverage options that no longer applied to my lifestyle, like rental car coverage or high collision limits. Just like that, my monthly premium dropped significantly. Next, we looked at my health insurance. I was on Medicare but had added a supplemental plan years ago. Since then, my health needs had changed and better options had become available. We spoke with an independent advisor who helped me compare plans and found one that included my regular doctors and prescriptions with lower out-of-pocket costs. We even looked at an old life insurance policy that no longer made sense now that my kids are financially stable and my expenses are lower. By adjusting or canceling it, I freed up more money each month. The important lesson here is this: just because a plan worked 5 years ago does not mean it is still the best fit today. Insurance companies update their offerings. Your needs change, and often there are better deals out there, especially for seniors. Revisiting your insurance every year is like doing a checkup for your finances. Take time to call your providers, ask questions, and compare options. Do not be afraid to ask for help from a trusted family member or advisor. There is no shame in making changes. In fact, it is one of the smartest things you can do to protect your future and stretch your income further. You have spent your life planning for this stage. Make sure the plans you have still match the life you are living. 9. Use cash, not credit. I spent most of my working years using credit cards for just about everything. It was convenient, quick, and seemed harmless at the time. Swipe the card, pay the bill later. But once I retired and started living on a fixed income, I began to notice how easy it was to lose track. A dinner here, a little online shopping there, a few gas station trips. By the end of the month, the total was always higher than I expected. What changed things for me was switching to using cash for everyday purchases. It may sound old-fashioned, but using real money made me more aware of what I was spending. When I hand over $20 at the grocery store and watch the bills leave my wallet, it feels different than just tapping a card. There is a sense of connection to the money and a natural pause before I buy something I do not really need. I now give myself a weekly cash allowance. Every Sunday, I withdraw a set amount from the bank, enough for groceries, gas, and a few personal things. Once it is gone, I do not spend more until the next week. That small habit helped me build discipline without feeling restricted. I still enjoy the things I love, but I do so with more intention. Another benefit of using cash is avoiding interest and fees. Credit card debt can sneak up even when you think you are managing it. A few late payments, and suddenly you are paying far more than you ever expected. I know several friends who fell into that trap in retirement, not because they were careless, but because life happens and bills pile up. Now I still keep one credit card for emergencies or travel, but for daily living, cash keeps me grounded. It makes spending feel real. It also helps me appreciate what I buy more, because I had to choose it, not just charge it. Using cash is not about being cheap. It is about staying connected to your money. In a world that wants us to spend without thinking, Using cash is a quiet way of saying, I am in control. And that peace of mind is worth more than anything money can buy. 10. Find joy that is free. Some of the best moments in my life did not cost a thing. A slow walk at sunrise, a quiet afternoon with a book, a long conversation on the porch with an old friend. When I was younger, I used to think joy came from big things, vacations, new gadgets, dinner at fancy restaurants. But as I have gotten older, I have come to understand that real joy is often simple and free. When I first retired, I felt a strange pressure to stay busy or entertained. I would go out just to be out. I thought I had to spend money to enjoy life, but that kind of joy never lasted. It was short-lived, like a spark instead of a flame. Eventually, I began to look for meaning in quieter places. Now my favorite moments come from things that do not require a wallet. I walk every morning around the neighborhood park. I nod at familiar faces, breathe in the air, and feel grateful that my legs still carry me. I sit by the window with my journal and write down memories, thoughts, little things I notice. I started attending a weekly board game group at the senior center, free of charge and full of laughter. We play cards, dominoes, and sometimes just talk. Sometimes I visit the library, not just for books, but for the peace of being around people without any pressure to spend. I have reread old favorites, discovered new ones, and even taken free classes they offer on local history and poetry. I also spend more time with people. My granddaughter calls me on video every Sunday. We talk, play little games, and she shows me her drawings. I may not always understand her jokes, but I understand her joy. And that connection, that love, it costs nothing, but it fills everything. Finding joy that is free is not about avoiding spending altogether. It is about discovering that your happiness does not depend on your bank account. You can laugh without buying anything. You can feel seen and heard without dining out. You can create memories with nothing more than time and attention. So I encourage you, make space in your week for the free joys. Watch the birds, call a friend, take a walk, write a letter, sing along to your favorite song. The world still has beauty to give you, and it does not charge admission. All it asks is that you show up with an open heart.